Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 53rd part of What If Deku Was a Magical Girl Mascot, Quirk, Magical Girl Mascot. The author of this great fan fic is Emma Ively. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 53, After the Battle. All Might began to wake up. All Might looked around the room they were in, realized it was a hospital room. For a second the person wondered why they weren't in constant pain. The memories of the fight returned. She had undergone a permanent gender bend. She looked down her hospital clothes to look at something. Unfortunately, it was as if someone wanted to play a big joke as Gran Torino decided to use this time to check on her. "So, checking out the new assets?" asked Gran Torino. "That wasn't what I was doing," said All Might, blushing. Gran Torino laughed, knowing what the new woman was really doing. Looking at where the scar was. "How is he?" asked All Might. The kid, he was exhausted and unlike the girls was conscious after everything. "Everyone is on this floor and last I checked he's sleeping," said Gran Torino. "All of the other magical girls including you passed out from exhaustion. The doctors think that for the mom and Melissa they should wake up in a few hours. They think that Bomb Girl, Endeavor's kid and Idaten's kid will wake up within the hour." All Might nodded. There was a lot to unpack. "I don't think we should talk about that now," sighed Gran Torino. All Might sighed, knowing what he meant. Nana's grandson. "It's not the right time to talk about it," sighed All Might. "Even if they had a few hours until all of the partners were awake. I don't know why I procrastinated on finding a successor. Young Togata was perfect," said All Might, "and there were plenty in the first year that could also use it, like young Kirishima or young Kendo, but I just..." Gran Torino chuckled. "Maybe it was fate that you procrastinated after all. What were the chances that you would become a magical girl?" said Gran Torino. All Might chuckled. "Though the most ironic thing was, I did briefly consider young Midoriya," said All Might, "but due to the bond one realized it was a terrible idea. After all, it would be placing his partners in danger, and at the time he was planning for 5 partners. So he has 3 more than initially planned," said Gran Torino. He had heard about Melissa's and Tenya's and how they were emergencies, wasn't sure about Toru's Thoga. "Young Hagakure volunteered," said All Might, "one of the reasons being she's a fan of magical girl anime." "Seriously?" asked Gran Torino with a sweat drop. "Also there was the fact she was unable to make a proper costume with her quirk," said All Might. Gran Torino nodded, remembering the girl was invisible. "All Might, you're awake," said Izuku. They turned to see Izuku in his mascot form at that doorway. "Should you be up, kid?" asked Gran Torino. "I couldn't get back sleep even though I need it," sighed Izuku. He entered the room and flew to All Might's bed. It was a bit awkward, but it was clear he was getting used to flying. "Should you be using your new wings right now?" asked All Might. Izuku laughed nervously. "I know," he said. All Might sighed, but at the same time couldn't really blame the boy. If he had suddenly gained wing, he would probably want to try to use them too. "Look, there's something I really need to talk to you about," said Izuku. "It's fine, young Midoriya. I've undergone so many transformations during my time as a hero. And never permanently. But there were 3 instances that were close: the time I was turned into a vampire, the 4th time I was turned into a deer, and that time I was turned into a living candelabra. All those instances lasted weeks on end and I was afraid that they were permanent. But this time I know for a fact, and the fact I'm still human and not constantly craving blood, combined with getting a second chance at being the symbol of peace, more than makes up for being a woman for the rest of my life," assured All Might. Izuku visibly relaxed at this, then a certain look appeared on his face. It was the look of someone wanting to ask a certain question but didn't want to ask. She also figured out what the question was and answered it. "Yes. I was able to talk as a candelabra, and yes, in the first few days I did sing Be Our Guest," said All Might. "There is just some stuff you have to do when turned into a certain thing." Izuku laughed. I lost my stomach and one of my lungs from the previous fight. I was living off borrowed time. You saved me, young Midoriya. It will be quite the adjustment, but I can finally live again," assured All Might. Izuku nodded. That was when All Might seemed to really realize something. "I can eat a hamburger again," said All Might with her eyes lighting up. "Tashinori," sighed Gran Torino. That was when they heard an explosion. "What the fuck? Deku. You better be here," yelled Katsuki. Izuku sighed. "Looks like young Bakugo woke up," said All Might. "I'm going to go calm her down," said Izuku. He flew off the bed and flew to where the yelling was coming from. All Might sighed as Izuku flew out of the room. "Well, I'll leave you for now," said Gran Torino. "I'm sure there's plenty you want to know about your new body." All Might started to blush. Gran Torino grinned at the blush. Over the course of the next few hours, the others woke up. There was plenty of tears and hugs as everyone woke up. After all, Izuku was locked up for days, and while they were able to communicate via telepathy to know he was safe, just having him there was more important. Inko was the last one to wake up. They spent over a half-hour hugging and crying. Of course, the janitor had to eventually be called. Also, they had to make sure that Inko and Izuku was properly hydrated before they could have the important discussion they needed to have. "So is passing out from dehydration from crying normal for them?" asked Melissa. "You have no idea," said Katsuki. All Might took a breath. After all, this was an important thing he had to tell them. "All right. Since we're not telepathically connected, there is an important secret I need to let you in on," said All Might. "Because of that, I'm afraid I must ask you to limit who you bond with from now on." "I was trying to begin with, though I might bond with Tensei considering his reason is no longer valid," said Izuku. All Might nodded, figuring that Izuku offered to bond with the retried hero long before this even happened. "You see, it's about my quirk," said All Might. "Yeah, so what is exactly?" said Katsuki. "It can't be a transformation quirk because it would have affected this," said Shoto, motioning to All Might's new female body. All Might blushed. "Do we want to know?" asked Tsuyu. "You don't want to know what he really looked like before he bonded with Deku," said Katsuki. "Actually," said Shoto, "have you seen that really skinny man around campus?" "You can mean skeleton guy?" asked Toru. "The one that looked like a gust of wind could knock him down?" "Ribbit," asked Tsuyu. "What about him?" asked Achiko. They noticed the way All Might hung her head low. "It's okay, they're still kids," reassured Inko. "Oh," said Tsuyu. "Sorry," said Achiko. "It's fine. I should have known students would have noticed me when not in my hero form," sighed All Might. "But it's about my quirk. The truth is that I wasn't born with it but rather given to me." "What?" yelled almost everyone in the room. All Might sighed and explained the truth about his quirk. That it was a stockpiling quirk that could be passed on from person to person, getting stronger with each user. "It's called One for All," said All Might. "Wait, wasn't the villain that kidnapped Izuku called All for One?" said Shoto. "Yes, and it's not a coincidence," said All Might, who told him that the two were indeed interconnected, that it originated from his brother. His brother was thought to be quirkless, but he had a quirk. A quirk to pass on his quirk. The two quirks combined and it was evenly passed to him. "Did Daddy know?" asked Melissa. "No, unfortunately," said All Might. "I do have people who know, including Mizu, Recovery Girl, Tsukachi, and Sir Night-Eye, but not David. I'm sure if I had told him what happened wouldn't have happened." "I'm so sorry, Melissa." "It's okay, Uncle Might," said Melissa. "I don't blame you." She sighed. "I remember hearing that it wasn't even his idea originally, it was Sam's," sighed Melissa. But still, sighed All Might. It was silent for a while. There's something else we do have to talk about, said Inko. Those who were on the failed rescue attempt team froze. Just why were you in disguises? Asked Inko. They all flinched. It's not important, said Ochako. Really it wasn't, said Toru. Inko gave them all a disappointed look. The six all flinched. Look, there's no backing out, said Katsuki. I will keep it a secret if you tell me. Sighed Inko, just tell me what you were doing when Izuku teleported you in. Inko then shot them a rather sad look. Her mom powers are powerful, mumbled Ochako. Mom powers? Asked Shoto. You don't want to know, said Katsuki. And so they come clean about the failed rescue attempt and how they ended up in the wrong location and eventually ran away once the heroes arrived. There were more, weren't there? Said Inko. Yamamo and Kirishima. Sighed Ochako. Don't worry, I won't tell your teachers, and there isn't any evidence of you being there, just please don't do something like that again, said Inko. All six of them were guilt. The three innocents looked at them. That was when All Might got an idea. Since we're all bonded, perhaps you should started calling me by real name, said All Might. It's Toshinori Yagi, by the way. The seven students looked at their teacher. Yeah, that's kind of going to be hard, said Ochako. We've all looked up to you for so long, said Tsuyu. I don't know if I can, sighed Izuku. I would rather not, sighed Tenya. It's going to be really hard, said Toru. It would be very difficult, said Shoto, considering my father. Fuck no, you're All Might, said Katsuki. All Might, or rather Toshinori, sighed. It's okay, Toshinori, said Inko. It's going to be hard for them, Uncle Might, said Melissa, who exempt as she had a special nickname for her. By the way, Toshinori, said Inko, please tell me you know how periods work. I do, trust me, said Toshinori. She shuddered, the memories of Nana making sure that he knew how periods worked and if he understood the truth about them. All of them had to remain at the hospital for observation. Which did make sense, they were in a huge battle and Izuku spent days kidnapped and held captive in a pet carrier. Still, for Toshinori, she knew that the conversation about Shigaraki would have to eventually happen, but that wasn't the day. Still, things were going to change, and hopefully for the best. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 54. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.